actually stand for? What does it mean to be a Republican in the year 2024? What does it mean to be an American in the year 2024? To me, it means we believe in the ideals of 1776. Ideals like meritocracy and the pursuit of excellence, that you get ahead in this country not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. That's why I've said we will eliminate quota systems and affirmative action in every area of American life. It's been a cancer on our national soul, and we are done with it. Thank you. It means we believe in the rule of law. And I say this as the kid of legal immigrants to this country. That means your first act of entering this country cannot break the law. And that is why I will use our own military to secure our own southern border and our northern border too. That's what it means to stand for the rule of law in the United States of America. It means that we the people create a government that is accountable to us, not the other way around. That the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government. Not the shadow government in Washington, D.C. that's pulling the strings today. If there's one thing I get done as your next president, one war that I promise you I will wage, it's not some pointless foreign war abroad. It is the war on our own shadow government right here in the United States of America. That's the war we need to win. On day one, we will initiate a 75% mass firing of federal bureaucrats across that federal bureaucracy. That's how you drain the swamp. We will shut down government agencies that should no longer exist, like the FBI and the ATF and the CDC and the U.S. Department of Education. We're not just going to reform them. We're going to get in there and actually shut them down. That is how you gut the deep state. Don't use last year's budget as the baseline and try to massage it. It's based on the prior year's budget, which is based on the prior year's budget before that, all of which are broken, and that's how you get a $34 trillion national debt. I will start with zero as the baseline and ask what's actually necessary. Zero-based budgeting. That's how I've run my businesses. That's how CEOs across this country run their businesses. That's how I'm going to run the federal government of the United States. That's how you tackle our national debt problem. That's how you actually gut the bureaucracy. I will work for you for 8 years as your next president, but not more. And that's a good thing. But if I can't work for you for more than 8 years, then neither should any of those federal bureaucrats who are reporting into me either. 8-year term limits for the bureaucracy instead of civil service protections. That is how you drain the swamp. These aren't controversial ideas. They shouldn't be. It's common sense. And yes, to get there, we do need elections that we can trust and believe in. Single-day voting on Election Day as a national holiday with paper ballots and government-issued voter ID to match the voter file. And yes, English as the sole language that appears on a ballot. I will deliver that as your next president. These are not black ideas or white ideas. These aren't even really Democrat ideas or Republican ideas. They shouldn't be. These are American ideals that we fought a revolution to secure in this country. And I believe deep in my heart that those ideals still exist. I'm running for president to revive them. E pluribus unum, it means from many, one. That's what we've lost in this country. We've been taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways that we are really the same as Americans, bound by that common set of ideals. And here's how we're going to bring it back. It's going to be by all of us, not just me. All of us starting to speak the truth in the open again. Say in public what you will say in private at the dinner table. Say it with a spine.
Say it with conviction. Say it with respect. But part of respect is that you respect your neighbor enough to tell them what you actually think. And you see, that's what this campaign is about. Speaking the truth, not just when it is easy, but when it is hard. Speaking the truth, not just to the other side, but to our own side in this party when necessary, too. There's a reason why I'm the only candidate in this race who can even tell you certain things. That I will strip vaccine manufacturers of their special liability exemption so we have justice in this country. Where there is injury, there must be justice. To tell you that the CO2 pipeline making its way across half of the state is unconstitutional in its use of eminent domain. And that I'm against it, that we're going to end it, and that it's based on a climate change agenda that absolutely is a hoax because it has nothing to do with the climate. The only person in this race who could tell you that Ronna McDaniel, the failed chairwoman of the RNC, needs to step aside after 5 failed years of leadership in this country. Because we need accountability in our own party before we bring it to the federal government. To tell you that, you know what? I will pardon on day one every peaceful J6 protester because it's the right thing to do for this country. Why am I the only candidate who can tell you these things?
You're not bought and paid for.
Exactly. Every politician anymore is dancing to the tune of their biggest donor. That's how corrupt our politics is. Without exception. Every politician is like a pawn on a chessboard. Well, you know what? In my case, my biggest donor is me. I don't report to them. I report to you, the citizens of this nation. I'd rather lose this election and speak the truth than to win by playing some fake game of political snakes and ladders. I'm not going to be somebody else's circus monkey or a pawn on a chessboard. Now, my bet is that's the winning strategy, okay? We'll see. I believe it is. I think we're going to win the Iowa caucus, but that's not my choice. That's your choice. But if you all actually want somebody to get in there who's going to speak truth to power and actually shut down the deep state, then vote for the person who's going to speak the truth to you. And if you all do your part, then I promise you, my family and I, we will do ours to make sure, not in some fake politician way, but in a true way, to make sure that our country's best days are actually still ahead of us. Thank you for coming today, guys. God bless you and your families and our great United States of America. We're not going to stop until we get this job done. Let's open this up. I'm going to sit across the table from Xi Jinping in about 18 months, so give me the hard ones. We can handle them. I'll start here, and then you can go to the gentleman there.
I heard you once before talk about how you're going to institute term limits. Can you tell us that today? You have a brilliant plan there.
Thank you, sir. Remind me, what's your name?
Gary.
Gary.
He's the one who suggested Trump be your running mate.
Oh, yeah. Gary came to an event and suggested that I consider Donald Trump as my running mate, and I've taken the suggestion seriously. I got to tell you something, Gary. I've actually had numerous events since then where that's come up, and I can address that. But let me address your question about term limits. 2 kinds of term limits. One is in the bureaucracy. It's the more important kind, actually. The people who we never elected to run the government, they're the ones making policy more than Congress anymore. So because we have term limits at the top of the executive branch and the president, I'm going to apply 8-year term limits to nearly all of those federal bureaucrats reporting into me either. That I can do as your president without asking Congress for permission or for forgiveness, and we will. Then there's a second type of term limit, which is, of course, for Congress, for the congressmen and the senators. And here we got a little bit of a dilemma here, because the very people who we want to term limit out are the ones who have to vote for their own term limits, right? Yep. So that's a little bit of a chicken and egg thing there. So I'm a businessman. I believe in working with the incentives that people already have. So I don't love it, but here's how I'll get it done. I'll say that anybody in Congress who's already there will be grandfathered in. I don't love it, but now all of them are going to be voting for it because it's wildly popular and they've taken their own self-interest out of the equation. It's amazing how that works. The same thing, I've met these congressmen. These people, a lot of them have no shame. Advocating for the importance of congressmen being able to trade individual stocks while they're still in Congress. For what purpose? How does that possibly advance our national interests? Now, same thing you say, okay, well, you guys can do it, but whoever comes after you, we're going to pass a law that says they don't get to do it. It's wildly popular, they're going to vote for it. So, look, I'm a businessman. I come from the outside. Our politics is corrupt. It's going to take somebody who's skating to where the puck is going to finish it. But if you want to end the corruption, I think it's going to take somebody who's not part of that same corruption to do it, and that's why I'm in this. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate the question. We'll go right there to the back.
Does the president actually have the power to shut down all those offices you mentioned?
The ones I mentioned, yes. And it's a great question to ask. I didn't mention the FDA or the SEC. And I'll give you... That's why I love Iowa, actually. You get a good question. Let me answer you which basis is the law. Since you asked. There's a law called the Presidential Reorganization Act of 1977. Little used. But it says under certain circumstances, the U.S. president already has the authority to shut down agencies. If it eliminates redundant agencies, if it promotes the economy, or if it promotes efficiency of operations in government. So I'll give you two examples. The FBI. There's 35,000 employees at the FBI. 20,000 of them are back office bureaucrats in the J. Edgar Hoover building. We're going to send them packing. 15,000 of the people who work at the FBI are cops, investigative agents on the front lines. We will move them to the U.S. Marshals or to the DEA, both of which have been far more effective at fighting child sex trafficking, or to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network at the U.S. Treasury to go after white-collar theft. That's proof that it's redundant. So that's how the president has the power to do it. The Department of Education, I'm in favor of shutting it down, not because I'm against education, but because I am for education in this country. We'll take the $80 billion and return it to parents across this country who are then empowered to determine where they send their kids to school. In my opinion, that checks off the economy box, actually. It promotes the economy. So there we actually have the authority. So every one of the agencies I'm telling you we're going to shut down, FBI, ATF, CDC, U.S. Department of Education, Nuclear Regulatory Commission, FNS within the Department of Agriculture. We have a whole list. You got to know something about me. I don't make promises I can't keep. The promises I'm making you, with the exception of single-day voting on Election Day as a national holiday, that requires Congress. And it's my most important legislative agenda, is to fix the elections. But other than that, everything else I'm promising you, we're able to get done as your next president without asking anybody for permission or for forgiveness. And that's why I'm going to be able to keep my promises in a way that nobody else, at least in the recent history of people who've run for office, actually have. That's the way I'm going to lead. Thank you. I appreciate the question, sir. Very honest. Okay, quick follow-up, and then we'll go around the room.
How do you feel about the countries that control laws they pass and trying to ban certain weapons?
I'll give you the simple answer. I'm against it. And the reason I'm against it is the Second Amendment is the one amendment that protects all of the other ones, actually. People forget this. A little bit of history goes a long way, actually. Black Americans didn't enjoy their civil rights until they got their Second Amendment rights after the Civil War. The first anti-gun laws that were passed in the United States were designed to keep guns out of the hands of Black Americans. China, Iran, other countries, they all claim to offer the same protections we do in our Bill of Rights, except they don't have a Second Amendment. So this is the one amendment that puts teeth into the others. Our founding fathers understood that it's like mutually assured destruction between the governed and the government. That's what it is, actually. Keeps tyranny at bay. And so you want to deal with the epidemic of violence in this country. It's not just gun violence, of all kinds of violence. Get to the root cause. It's the mental health epidemic. We have to effectively address that upstream of the violence. Bring back the psychiatric institutions that we've shuttered in this country. Bring them back. And allow police officers to actually do their jobs without fear of being sued for looking over their shoulder for being said they do the wrong thing. That's how we address crime in this country. How do we prevent something like what happened in Perry? It's sad what happened in Perry. It's wrong. 3 armed security guards in every school across this country. For a tiny fraction of the Department of Education's budget, we can do that. So that's how I'm going to lead this country, get to the root cause. But if I'm going to swear an oath to the Constitution, then it's my responsibility to you that I actually keep it, and I will. Thank you. I appreciate that, sir. Right here, sir.
Okay, I know you want to get rid of the alphabet agencies. What about the Department of Justice? You got any thoughts on who you might have for an Attorney General?
Yeah, we'll come to you right after, sir. Yeah, absolutely. We'll bring the microphone around the room. Remind me your name again, sir?
Bob McNamara.
Bob. Good to see you, Bob. So, it's good to see you again, actually. So, you can't, so we eliminating the FBI, I think, gets to the root cause. The Department of Justice, we're going to turn over every U.S. attorney and assistant U.S. attorney across the country. That's what we're going to do. Got to clean house at the DOJ. We have two standards of the rule of law in this country. One for Trump, one for Biden. If your last name's Trump or your last name's Biden. One for Antifa, BLM. Another one for peaceful protesters on January 6th. One for Julian Assange. Another one for Chelsea Manning, the transgender government official who leaked. I don't even think she's transgender. I think she's just smart because she knows she would get pardoned if she claims to be transgender. That's how politicized our justice system is. And so I've said I would pardon anybody in this country who was a victim of a politically motivated persecution through prosecution. And I've also said that we will not only shut down the FBI, but completely clean house at the DOJ in a way that we will restore one standard of the rule of law, regardless of skin color, regardless of political belief. Discrimination on the basis of political beliefs is a civil rights violation, and we're going to enforce that accordingly. That's how we're going to do it. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that question. You have a question back there?
Yes, sir. Please. So I'll just continue what I was saying before. My goal was to come here and get and achieve today 6 10-minute intervals, but that's already been told to me that that's not going to be possible, which I agree because there's a lot of people you got to reach. So, like I said before, I'll use this time to qualify myself to actually ask a question. Because if you don't know who's asking the question, then it really doesn't matter. The question can be from anywhere.
Well, give me your top question, sir, because I just want to be respectful of everyone here.
My top question isn't even for you, it's for your wife. So I'm going to save that. But, so, with the time that I do have to qualify myself, to actually let people know I'm qualified to ask these questions,
Sure.
instead of just like randomly asking questions.
I think every American is qualified.
Yeah. To a point, when I'm just listening to you, because that's really like, since I decided to follow you, I just listen to everything you say. Okay? So, my last thing I'm going to say to qualify myself is that you're using the wrong words. I love the way you use words. It's a beautiful way. Not a lot of people can do it. But you're still using them wrong. You need to speak in definitive. I hear you say, I believe, I think a lot. I know you are the man that America needs.
Thank you, sir.
I know that you will be the president. I know that Iowa is going to vote for you.
Thank you. Well,
That's how you need to speak.
I appreciate that,
Because that's
sir.
the truth.
I appreciate that, sir. We stand for the truth, and if you do your part, and we're asking that of every one of you here today. Thank you for that, sir. Thank you for every one of you for being here. If you do your part, we're going to do ours to make sure we succeed here in Iowa, and then we succeed in reviving this country. Thank you for your enthusiasm. And I'm going to go to this lady right here, and then we'll come to you, sir, right after that.
I'm a primary care doc here in West Union. I live here, so health care is very important to me. My patients are important to me. I'm wondering, how will you help Medicare, Medicaid? How will you help our hospitals and our the nursing homes that are going out of business because of laws that are driving them away? And that's what scares me. How can I deliver my babies? What's my future look like with my people here in my hometown?
Well, first of all, thank you for doing what you do as a primary care physician. We have a shortage in this country for a reason. And I've noticed over the course of this year, we've gotten more and more questions about health care because that's something our party has not actually addressed and offered a vision on. I'll tell you, it's important to our family. My wife is a physician. She's a throat surgeon at the Cancer Hospital at Ohio State. Like you, she's a hero. She is, in many cases, dealing with what you know, it's probably, we don't have a health care system in this country. We have a sick care system in this country that'll pay inordinate amounts on the back end for pill-pushing behaviors from doctors, that'll pay for all kinds of procedures that don't necessarily do anyone any good. But on the front end, doesn't pay for actual basic health, basic mental health care, basic diet and exercise, or basic fitness, basic access to the kinds of foods that allow people to live more healthy lifestyles. It's completely backwards. And so in Apoorva's case, many of the procedures that she does, she helps patients swallow food who haven't swallowed food after surviving from cancer for years. She does those surgeries in many cases without getting paid herself. And that works for our family, thankfully. This country has been kind to us, to say the least. But that doesn't work for our entire system. So there's two answers. One is we have to bring down the cost of prescription drugs in this country. And I think that the way you do that is bring down the barriers at the FDA for getting new drugs approved. I've overseen the development of 5 FDA-approved medicines. I ran a biotech company. For those who aren't aware, that's my background. One of those is a life-saving therapy in kids, where 20 kids a year are born with a genetic disease. 100% of them die by the age of 3. We worked on a therapy where most of those kids who are treated live lives of normal duration. I can tell you we could have developed every one of those medicines for a fraction of the cost if the FDA hadn't set the entire regulatory hoops where they have, because that's where Big Pharma wants it. Big Pharma lobbies for this because that stops the competition. That's what allows them to solve for monopoly prices. We don't have a competitive market for insulin or other drugs in this country. So that's number one. Number two is we have to create a more competitive market for health insurance in this country. Health insurance companies have lobbied for special antitrust exemptions. Exemptions from the antitrust laws that allow them to coordinate. That stops competition in the health insurance marketplace and sets the prices higher. Both of these are a product of lobbying. So it gets to the root cause. If we end the corruption, if we end the way in which both the health insurance industry and the pharma industry have lobbied for self-serving regulations that have increased the cost of health care, have created all kinds of distortions, a system that doesn't pay for health but only pays for sickness, then we actually have a system that we know how to sort this out, a competitive private health insurance marketplace. You brought up Medicare. Medicare Advantage is flawed. But it's still miles better than Medicare because what they do is they give you the money to at least buy your own private health insurance plan. So if you actually have a competitive private health insurance marketplace, and then you evolve more from a Medicare-centric view to Medicare Advantage, which is giving people the money to buy their insurance through that marketplace, that alone makes for a lower cost, more effective healthcare system. But the reason it's not happening now is lobbying on behalf of the pharmaceutical industry and lobbying for the health insurance industry. And so my view is, if you have worked in the government, you should not be able to lobby that government for at least 10 years after you've left. If you have worked in that government and you've been a regulator of an industry, you should not be able to join the board of a company in that industry for at least 10 years later. It's not too much to ask, but every politician, as I said, is dancing to the tune of their biggest donor. It's going to take somebody from the outside to deliver that kind of change, and those are basic changes that we deserve as Americans, to have cheaper and more accessible health care. Thank you very much. I appreciate the question. Go right here.
Alrighty. This is not inherently a political question.
That's allowed.
It's about AI. We are on the cusp of an artificial general intelligence revolution that will most likely occur within the next 4 years, hopefully when you're president. Many people in the tech sector, such as Elon Musk, have voiced their concerns about AGI and the impact it may have
Yes.
on humanity. What, if any, plans do you have to safeguard the American populace against the negative aspects of it, and how do you think we can use it to make America a better place in the future?
Thank you. This is an important question, sir. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 17.
You're 17. And when do you turn 18?
I turn 18 before the election. I'm actually a precinct captain for it.
Oh, you are? You can vote in the caucus. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Proud of you. And we're proud to have you aboard. That's a smart question. It's interesting. I actually proposed this to the RNC and the people hosting it. I thought the first couple of debates it would come up. For the third debate or the fourth debate, just I mean, we should be talking about AI policy because it doesn't fall in the usual partisan boxes, but it matters to the future of this country. But apparently it doesn't matter to people in American politics. I can tell you how it doesn't matter how little it matters to the Democratic Party. They chose, of all people they could have chosen, to put Kamala Harris in charge of AI policy, which I can't think of a greater danger to the future of humanity than that. You're going to put somebody in charge of AI policy. For God's sake, pick somebody who can actually spell AI. Okay, it's not too much to ask in this country for some basic competence there. But on a serious note, so I'll tell you a funny story actually. So anybody here a tennis fan? Professional tennis? Watch it. I was my first. Well, this is going to land very poorly then. My first job was as a ball boy. So they used to have this big event in Cincinnati where I grew up. And so my first job, 7th, 8th grade, was as a ball boy. But I got an upgrade in high school to be a line judge, where I was the human being calling whether the ball landed in or out. So what happens now is those people don't exist anymore. They've all been replaced by AI. But in the first generation of it, what used to happen back when I was doing it is the players would just argue like heck with you, right? If you made a call that they disagree with. But after you eliminated the human beings, you could see the first generation of the AI, it got it wrong. You could just see it with your eyes on a replay on TV. But the funny thing is the players stopped arguing. You know what? Because it's AI. And so that's a human tendency. So one of the biggest risks of AI is our willingness to bend the knee to the AI. Go to ChatGPT today. Type in, how do you address changing temperatures on Earth? How do you address historical racism in U.S.? It'll give an answer, looks like it comes from MSNBC.com, but it's presented to you as though it's converting degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit. That's the real danger of AI. Now, I'm going to give you some simple pillars for AI policy in this country. Number one is we cannot adopt any bans in this country that China also refuses to adopt. Then we're in the worst of all worlds. China's ahead of the U.S. We still bear the risks of whatever is created. So what happened with gain-of-function research, if you remember that, created a global pandemic in China. We banned it here. It still affected us. Don't make that mistake. Number two is start with the basic principle, protect children. Let's start with that. So if you're going to create an AI-based algorithm that has to be labeled as such, at least stop the interface of AI and children. We have one area where we've got to do that today, algorithmic social media. If you're not old enough to smoke an addictive cigarette by the age of 18, I don't think you should be able to smoke an addictive cigarette or have an addictive social media algorithm by the age of 16 either. I think that's basic policy. Same goes for any other future AI interface. And then here's the basic framework for me. Instead of having some government regulatory body, put the onus on the companies. Here's how. If you're a chemicals company and you dump in somebody else's river, you can be sued for dumping in their river. Well, if you're a company developing an AI algorithm, it should be treated the same way. If it has an adverse impact on somebody, even if it's unforeseen, you should be liable for that. That is not the case today. That should be the case, and I'll make sure that it is. Now, if somebody is creating an algorithm on the front end, they have to take into account what those risks are. Internalize the risks up front. If you're Microsoft or Meta or ChatGPT's creator, OpenAI. That's how we deal with this without some centralized government bureaucracy, while remaining competitive with China, while protecting our children, but while also protecting ourselves against the unforeseen risks. And I'm proud of you for answering that question. It'll be your generation that faces it. And we owe it to you to make sure we're thoughtful about where we're actually going. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Perfect. Perfect. Right there, sir.
What are you going to do in your first 90 days? Because nothing happens after that anyway.
Thank you for saying that. It's the truth. I mean, it really, let's start with what are you going to do in the first month. Let's start with what are you going to do in the first few days, actually. So let's start with what I can do as the president without going through Congress. This is where most presidents get mixed up. They'll try to push a legislative agenda, they get stalled, you're past 90 days, nothing happens, nothing meaningful. Day one, as your commander-in-chief, I will move our own troops to our own southern border and our northern border too. That's how we protect these borders in the United States of America. We know how to do it. I will end birthright citizenship for the kids of illegal migrants in this country. It doesn't apply to them. Starting January 20th, 2025, we're done with that. I will put a halt on all federal funding for sanctuary cities. This is actually how you actually solve the best border crisis of all, is end the incentives to be here illegally. So that's how we deal with the border crisis. And anybody who's in this country illegally, we will initiate proceedings for mass deportations from this country. That's how we restore the rule of law, using local law enforcement to do it. And there is a section of the law that allows the federal government to share their responsibilities with local law enforcement when it comes to illegal mass migrants. That's as it relates to the border. I will initiate on day one a 75% mass firing across that federal bureaucracy. We will begin the process of shutting down these agencies. This is how you gut the deep state. That also begins on day one. A 90% headcount reduction at the U.S. Federal Reserve. This has actually been one of the great problems in our country. Yes. Peg the dollar to commodities. That's how you actually tie the hands of our financial system. Begin the process of paying down our national debt by unlocking drilling and fracking in this country. Get the oil and natural gas out from underneath our ground. Sell it. Then we instantly buy down about $8 trillion of our national debt. Then we have our national debt problem in control without even touching Social Security or Medicare along the way. So those are things I'll get done on day one as your next president. And any executive order that came before, Lyndon Johnson had a bunch of them. One that created affirmative action in the private sector. If you're a government contractor, that you have to have racial and gender quotas. 20% of the U.S. economy is bound by that. I'll cancel every unconstitutional executive order. I can do that on day one as well. And I think that everything I've just told you, that's not the first 3 months. That's probably the first 3 days in getting into office. And that's how we get started with a bang. You want to gut the deep state, it's going to take somebody who's willing to take those quantum leaps. If you want incremental reform, I'm not your guy. Increase the tax rate by 1% or decrease it by 1% and do some cosmetic window dressing. A lot of professional politicians who can give you that. But if you want to get serious about actually restoring our 1776 ideals, that the people who we elect to run the government are once again the ones who run the government, that the moral duty that I owe you is to the citizens of this country, not another one, then I think I'm the only candidate in this race who can actually get that done. Let's have some real talk here. There's 2 America First candidates in this race. It's Donald Trump and myself. And I respect Trump. I respect him more than anybody else has in this race. He was a good president. He kept us out of war and grew the economy. But I'm in this to take our America First agenda to the next level. The things I just laid out for you. It's going to take somebody coming in from the outside to do it, but also someone from the outside who knows and deeply understands the law and the Constitution in this country. And those 2 things don't usually go together. You have the academic type over here. You'll have the business guy who can execute and get things done. Those 2 things don't usually go together. That's what gives me my purpose in this race, my duty to be in this race and to be your next president. My faith actually teaches me that God puts each of us here for a purpose. There's one true God. He puts us here for a purpose. Every one of us has our own unique God-given gifts. Each of us does. It's our duty to use those God-given gifts to do what is right in the short time that we are given. It's my duty to this country that says this is what we need to do now. If we wait another 5 years to get the things I just described to you right, if the interest payments on our national debt are the largest line item in our federal budget, I don't think we have a country left. We're not working with a lot of time right now. We're in the middle of a war for the future of this country. And I think you need a president who understands that we're in a war. You can't win one unless you know that you're in one. It's going to take somebody from the outside who isn't bought and paid for. And I think now more than ever, somebody from the next generation with fresh legs to reach and lead the new generation of Americans, to take our America First agenda to the next level. I'll be candid with you all. I'll ask you to be candid with me. I'm just the people in here on January 15th. How many of you are inclined, likely to support me in that Iowa caucus? Good number of you. Thank you. How many of you are considering supporting the person who I respect otherwise in this race, other than me, Donald Trump? Well, I appreciate your candor, because I want to let you know I will respect the people who came before me, because it's the right thing to do. All the way back. America First, it didn't begin in 2016. It began in 1776. And so we owe it from Donald Trump all the way back to George Washington not to blame the people who came before us. But I'm in this to reach and lead a next generation of Americans who today is lost. My generation, we are hungry for purpose and meaning in the United States. At a time when faith, patriotism, hard work, family, these things have disappeared. And that leaves a moral vacuum, a black hole in our hearts. And when you have a vacuum that runs that deep, that's when the poison fills the void. We're going to eradicate that poison by answering who we are. Revive our national identity. Young people in this country, I think everyone who graduates from high school should have to pass the same civics test that every immigrant has to pass in order to become a voting citizen of this country. That's what it means to stand. I actually want to point out one of my friends here, who's Lena, who's here today. Lena's 10 years old. She came to one of my earlier events, and when she approached me, she printed out that civics test, 100 questions. 60% is a passing score. Most Americans, adults in their 20s, would fail it today. She's 10 years old. She got 100 out of 100 on it at the age of 10. That gives me hope for our country. And so when we leave that White House in January 2033 after 2 terms, there's a lot of things I want to tell you. That we shut down the deep state, that we grew this economy, that we declared economic independence from communist China, that we stayed out of World War III, secured our own borders and our own homeland. I'll tell you all of that. But the thing I most want to tell you is that our 2 sons and their generation, that Lena and her generation, that they are once again proud to be citizens of this nation. That's how we get our country back. What would George Washington say if he were in this room with us right now? Well, I think he would say, he used words that I'm not going to repeat. You know who might have said? Alexander Hamilton might have said that. Maybe John Jay. I think George Washington, if he were here, what he would say, Thomas Jefferson, what he would say is that as a nation right now, you're not at the end of the ancient Roman Empire. We don't have to be this nation in decline. I think as a nation right now, we are still a little young, actually. Going through our own version of our adolescence. Figuring out who we're going to be when we grow up. That you still have another 250 years and then some left. But it's not going to happen automatically. You're going to have to do it the way we did it. We stepped up and seized our moment with our Declaration of Independence. That you live in a 1776 moment again today. That's what George Washington would tell us if he were here. I'm not going to do this alone. A president isn't just coming from the White House on high to be our political messiah and do everything and save us. But I'm going to do my part. And I'm going to ask you to do yours. On January 15th at the Iowa caucus, 30 minutes of your time to save this country. Every one of your voices and votes, it's the equivalent of 1 million people in the impact that it has on this election. If I win the Iowa caucus, I'm your next president. If your next president, we get done the things that I'm telling you we're going to get done. Tell 10 people who weren't in this bar today what we talked about. Bring them too. And if you all do your part, I will do mine to make sure that we look our kids in the eye and tell them that you still get ahead in this country with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication. And that you know what? You are free to speak your minds at every step of the way. That is the American dream. That is what we are running to. And with your help, that is what we will revive to save this great nation. Thank you for coming out today, guys. God bless you. and your families. And may God bless our United States of America. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Wait, can I get a
Thank you.
selfie
Oh,
real
God.
quick?
Oh, thank you. This is allowed.
I actually have to go back to work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Ron. This is for our campaign. For our campaign.
Did you read this book?
Oh, we can't take cash. They'll
guys can't take cash?
yeah, but the waiter, give it to the waiter. Yeah, all these different rules.
Thank you guys.
But thank you for coming. You know what I need is a donation
Thank you guys
Yes,
for
sir.
what you do.
of your time.
Yes, I'm a precinct captain.
You are.
I am.
Spread the message and get this done.
Hi
Thank you
there.
for
Nice
everything
to
you're
see you.
doing.
Yeah, thank you very much. I did your opening
That's
prayer
what it is.
today
Bring people.
before.
Oh, you did. Thank you so much.
Yeah. There you go. I just have
Pray
to head
for our
back to work.
family and our
I will.
country, and we're
Yeah.
going to do our
hey,
part.
I'm gonna ask you when I can sit down and play piano with you.
I'd love that. You're probably going to be. I'm rusty.
I've been
But I
playing
love
since
it.
I was 4.
You have? I picked up maybe around 7.
Yeah, I was a
Thank
music
you.
major in college. But
Thank
hey,
you.
Hey,
One day we will. Let's
yeah,
do it.
and
Let's do it in the White House
hey,
one day.
You bring me in to sing your national anthem.
I would love that. I would love that. Are you precinct captain for us?
I am running a caucus.
Oh,
so
you are? You
I'm
can't-
letting.
okay.
I'm letting
Everyone know.
everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Spread
but
the message,
I
and I
would
appreciate that.
absolutely
We will have you
otherwise.
in the White House, and we'll sing the national
Yeah.
anthem. I appreciate
Can I get
that.
a picture
Thank you.
with
I'd
you,
love
Mr.
that.
President?
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thanks for everything you're doing. That's the most valuable thing you can do is bring people to that caucus,
Absolutely.
and we're going to do our
Did
part.
you
Thank
read
you.
this book by chance? The Franklin cover?
I did not actually. Is this for me?
It's
Can
for
I
you.
can I take it? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll take this with us. Patrick here. Thank you.
It'll scare the hell out of you. I've
Thank
never
you.
read it past age 68.
Thank you.
This is the sex trafficking in Lawrence County.
I see the title. I appreciate you bringing it. With
Well,
you.
anyway,
Thank you for everything you're doing,
it'll
my man.
probably scare you too.
Well, if it doesn't, then it means something's probably wrong with your psyche
Yeah.
because it's disgusting what's happening. But thank you.
Did you sign the
I
placard?
appreciate it. Thank you, man. What's your name?
Nolan,
Nolan. Good to meet you, man. You live around here?
Wisconsin.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
If you're open to volunteering with us for the Iowa caucus, that's what we'd actually take it, making phone calls or otherwise. We'd take you guys. And we'll be in Wisconsin in about 3-4 months.
Yeah?
Yeah. So thank you. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah.
I
Can I
appreciate
get the
it.
Sharpie back?
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
I am a kindergarten teacher, and I appreciate your
Kindergarten teacher?
Yes,
Thank you
I
for doing what you do.
appreciate your insight on that.
Thank
Keeping
you.
us safe.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you
Yes.
very much. I appreciate you. What's your name?
I'm Barb. I'm Gary's wife.
Barb?
Yeah, Gary's wife.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Good to see you. Thank you for being here.
And I just wanted,
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Yeah. One question, just real quick.
Yeah.
I'm a holistic veterinarian.
Oh, good.
Release censors and what we can do and what we can say, is that going to change under your administration?
Big time.
Okay.
Restore freedom of speech in this country, and nobody should have to fear for what they're able to express, and that's how science advances. We actually people could be suffering, animals could be suffering, and human beings could be suffering because of the failure to actually speak our minds openly. So
Okay.
that ends on my watch. Thank you. Have you done the Iowa caucus before?
Yes.
Thank you. Spread
Yeah,
this message.
you bet.
Thank you. Hey, it's good to see you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here, my man.
I do have one question for you.
Sure.
When you become president, I'm a precinct captain also.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
But Trump made a mistake of not stopping the summer of love.
Stopping the what?
Stopping the summer of peaceful protest.
Yeah.
When you become when
Of
you
mostly
become-
peaceful protest, yeah.
When you become president, you know the Democrats are going to do another
Caroline.
symbolization of that.
Yeah.
How
Can you get our photographer in here? I want to take a picture with this gentleman.
how do we stop that?
Yeah.
I mean, not just you, but everybody else.
From?
Because the Democrats are going to protest.
Oh, of course. Yeah, but you got to gut the bureaucracy on day one.
We're going to have another George Floyd moment.
Yeah, the thing you got to do is actually bring back the rule of law in this country. The FBI has gone in one direction. You're precinct captain, right? I want to get a picture with you. You need a flash? You sure? Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
No, but
Thank
yeah, no, it's going to be. You're going to have a lot of problems.
Thank you.
I think Trump failed to address that.
No, so the answer is the federal law enforcement purposefully turned their back on it. It wasn't like they failed. That's the corruption of the FBI. Shut down the FBI, use the U.S. Marshals, and actually have it reported to take direction from the president.
Well, good.
That's the answer. That's how we're going to do it. We'll make sure that never happens. Spread the message, brother. I'm proud of you. Hey, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Yes, absolutely.
Your sign case? You better. For government class.
Thank you. Proud of you guys for being here. Thank you. Thank you, my man. I appreciate you. Great question.
They are
Yeah. Well, 90 days, get it done. That's right. We're not working with a lot of time.
Can we also
You guys spread the message. Have you done the caucus before?
No, we're gonna this year though.
You guys are awesome. Thank you. Let's get a picture. Yeah, let's get a picture. Yeah.
Oh, here, you want?
Shitty, you just gone. I'm not doing that.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you
Thank you.
ladies being here. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. What's your name, man?
I'm Christian.
Good to meet you, Christian. How old is this guy?
He is 20 months.
20 months? Oh, my littler guy's very similar age. Maybe they get together one day.
It's pretty awesome to follow the debates and everything.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
You're
it.
very good.
I appreciate it. What's your name?
My wife,
Hi, I'm
Kaya.
Kaya.
Kaya, good to meet you. Have you guys done the caucus before?
Yeah. Well, not in Iowa.
Not in Iowa. Well, this time, January 15th.
Yeah.
Make it
We'll
happen,
be there
and
for
we're
sure.
going to dominate.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, guys. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I would love it with the little man, too.
Here, do you want me to-
We could, yeah, if you want to take one, or all three together, they could. Charles can take one if you want. Yep. Thank you. Come on in.
Go on this side.
Kaya?
Yep.
Good to meet you. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
supporter.
Nice meeting you, brother. We'll see you. Good question, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for everything you're doing. Get a bunch of people out. That's how we win this thing.
You got me out here.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
support
it.
ya.
How old are you?
18.
You can caucus, too.
Yeah.
If
I was
all the
gonna
high
ask-
school seniors come out, we're going to shock the system.
I know there's a couple in our class that are thinking about you, and I've got other people I know that are in college that
Thank you, man.
like you too. So.
I appreciate it.
I was
Did you
going
have a
to
question?
ask you, what's your opinion about BRICS Plus? Because
Yeah, so my opinion is we got to solidify the dollar, fight our national debt, peg the dollar to commodities, then you don't need the gold, then the BRICS goes away, because the only value proposition is that it's pegged to the gold standard. If we do that ourselves, that solves the problem.
yeah, because one thing
I'm glad
I'm
you asked a
concerned-
smart question.
Yeah.
That's actually
One
really
thing I'm concerned about BRICS Plus is that obviously BRICS within itself isn't that bad, but they're adding like 5
Oh,
or
of
6
course.
new countries.
And then it becomes a whole different alliance. It's like a
Yeah.
new, it's like a new NATO that's
So of
hostile.
like half the world's GDP and like half the world's population, a lot of that stuff.
But the only thing that's going to allow them to cohere is this idea of that gold-backed currency. If we actually solidify the U.S. dollar, those countries would then rather have the U.S. dollar be the reserve currency. They won't join that alliance. That's the answer. Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys. Hey, thank you, man.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you
Thanks
being
for
here.
coming.
Got it.
Thank you, brother. What's your name?
Jeremy.
Jeremy. Good to be here. What's your name?
Kim.
Kim. Thank you for coming out, guys.
You bet.
Have you done the caucus before?
No.
We'd love to have you do it this year.
Yeah.
I think it's we're going to shock the system.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. So do your part. We're going to do ours. Do you have kids?
7.
7? Got a few. Okay. Well, even more. You guys have us beat. That's good. That's good. That's good. We got 2 little ones, and we're doing it for their generation. So I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Porfa saying the other day, though, that she was craving.
Well, I let her come to her own. I've been advocating for that for a long time, but I think she came to it on her own. So hopefully, God
I'll go
willing.
for 8. Beat us.
God willing. We'll see. I'm always for more is better when it comes to kids. Thank you for having us. Thanks a lot for taking care of us. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Tell your colleague too. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
Have a good night.
It. Take care. We'll see you, man. Thanks a lot. Thank
So,
you. Good to
my
see
name's
you.
Jerry.
Jerry, good to see you, man.
This is my wife, Heather.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
How you doing? Good to
Good.
see you.
Good to see
What's your name?
Jerry.
Heather.
Sorry, Heather. I didn't hear you.
Yep. There was something you wanted to say? Sure.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I caught a thing of you the other day with a response to somebody. I think it was from MSNBC.
Okay.
Some guy was trying to demonize you, and
Yeah,
your
it happens all
response
the time.
was just awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just loved it.
I appreciate that.
I mean, you kind of
Gotta
used
stay
some
grounded in
vulgar
logic.
language on
Yeah.
him, and I loved it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You got to do what's necessary. I think the expression in our family is we teach our kids the same thing. You got to be strong enough to protect your kindness.
Yeah.
So don't forget what you're fighting for, but don't be a wilting flower. And so nobody's going to run over us. That's what we're American.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nobody's going to tread on
Get
us.
an autograph, please?
Thank you. What's your name?
Amy.
Amy, good to meet you.
I do.
Thank you for
Thank
being here,
you.
guys. Hey, I saw you guys coming as a family. I appreciate that.
Yeah, got one question for you.
Yes,
Bo.
thank you.
Are you going to give the middle finger to China like Trump did?
Yes, but I'm actually going to follow through with making sure we don't depend on them. Because you can only give the middle finger to somebody for so long if you're dependent on them. We shouldn't be dependent on them for our pharmaceuticals or our semiconductors. I care less about giving the middle finger and more just about cutting the cord.
You'll do something.
Oh, I'm going to cut more than something. We're going to go far further. We're going to cut the cord. That's the answer. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, guys. Hey, thank you. I saw you back here. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Spread the message.
keep talking and
Thank you.
doing a great job and speaking the truth.
Thank you, man. Do you help us win this community? We're going to do our part.
One of my best friends is the one that's going to be caucusing for it on your behalf.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it, guys. Take care, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Hey. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
How you doing, man?
Good. Good to see
Thank you for coming out, guys. You guys catch some of this today?
I just showed up.
Oh, you did?
I got it all.
Well, thank you. Fill you in. We'll revive pride in this country
All right.
for good reason,
You
man.
made the
I'm counting on
paper
it.
again.
Oh, you did?
You too.
All of us. I love this. Look, oh, he's so cute. Karthik will love this, actually. This is awesome. Thank you. Which one is this
You
one?
did great today.
Thank you.
I was like, right
Do you like this
by
one?
you. I was trying to give you
This one right here?
Yes.
You think so? Okay, I was a little distracted.
You got the Waverly paper,
Oh,
now
nice.
you got the Waterloo Courier.
Yeah, I was a little distracted by it, yeah, but I think it was okay.
She,
All right, good.
she was trying.